Hey friends, welcome back. I'm here today with Sam Wysock-Wright over in Lisbon, Portugal. I'm so excited to have him back here today. He was on my channel quite a while ago and the response was so good for a couple of reasons. One, he's had his own pretty intense journey with CFS. He was sick for most of his 20s, but was able to fully recover. And a big piece of that was through meditation. And he is now a Vedic meditation teacher and the founder of Soma Meditation. So really excited to have him here today. We're going to talk about a bit about his health journey again briefly, and then do a deep dive on meditation and answer a lot of the questions that people have around meditation. So Sam, so wonderful to have you here today. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me back.
So lots to cover, and we're going to try and do it in as shortest period of time, because I know I've heard all of you watching say shorter videos are better, so working hard to stick to that. But I really am so excited to talk about your meditation course, because Sam, as you know, I recently took it, and it is no exaggeration to say it has, in a short time already, completely transformed my life. I don't know how to explain properly the impact that it's having so far. I have been a sort of sporadic meditator for probably the last 20 years, and I always believed in it and knew it was good and did little bits, and it did contribute to my own CFS recovery, but I could never seem to find the discipline or the motivation to really make it a serious practice. But when I finished your course, that night, I remember thinking, okay, tomorrow I'm on my own, because we do the meditations in the course. And I remember thinking, it sounds a bit crazy. And I remember thinking, tomorrow is the first day of the rest of my life. Because I just knew. I knew this was a whole new chapter for me, and I knew it was going to completely transform everything. I left your course with the understanding and the buy-in that I didn't realize I was lacking, because you explain things so well and the benefits and the science behind it. So yes, so grateful for this course, and I cannot believe how much it's changing my life. Is this a common experience for people that go through it?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. I can't sort of sit here and say everybody gets a certain amount of experience from the start. It's, for me, it can, different benefits can come out at different times. I think the response you're having is a testament to everything you've done for yourself to this point. I think, it's a technique that anybody can do. We say if you can think, you can meditate, and that's the only prerequisite to really learning and getting the most out of it. So yeah, I mean, I'm always amazed. I don't know what it is about me inside. It's like, I'm always amazed to hear people's responses. Like my students, they come back and they say, "Oh, I've just had this experience and I'm feeling like this now, and this is gone." And it's just every single time, it's like it's a new thing that I've kind of, because I've normalized teaching, I've normalized the experience of meditation, and so it's just amazing to hear like, "Oh, I just wake up and I feel happy, I feel motivated, I just feel like it's the next part of my life." I mean, that's what it was like for me when I first learned. It's like, this is going to change my life. The very first meditation. Mm-hmm. And that's enough. That was enough for me. Maybe I didn't feel the benefits straight away. But it was enough for me to go, this is something new, something that I just feel deep down inside that I'm just going to commit to. It feels good. It's just feeding, it's food for the soul. It's just something that's just, you feel pulled towards. And I wouldn't have had that without having a teacher. I could have read a book and like you said, you've been on and off for meditation for 20 years. It's very difficult to stay committed, because you're always second guessing yourself. You're not sure if you're doing it the right way, or is this technique the right technique for me, and so on. So having a teacher who knows what they're doing, teaches so many different types of students from different backgrounds, different experiences, just knowing that, and knowing that there's someone there that you can speak to about your experiences, and maybe something's not going right for you at the beginning and we can get that sorted out. It's invaluable. And it makes a huge difference, and it keeps you motivated to keep going and exploring.
I didn't realize how much I didn't know about meditation, because one of the things that kept me from taking a course, because I kind of thought, because I'd read books, I really had actively tried to learn about meditation over the years, read books, watched, some YouTube videos. I'd done some drop-in meditation courses. I'd even met with a couple, Buddhist monks and talked to them about it. And I kind of thought, well, what else is there to learn? So why take a course? I felt I know what meditation is, but I didn't realize how much I didn't know until I took this course. And I didn't realize how confused I was about it until I took this course, because what you really helped me to do was to understand what kind to do. You talked about, the benefits of different types of meditation, which ones are shown to be the best, what's normal in meditation, best times of day to do it, how long to do it, and just coming out with that plan and all that confusion gone of like, should I be doing guided meditations, breathing meditations, what time of day, how many times a week, or for how, it was just all so confusing, and I didn't even realize. And I left your course with the clarity and 100% buy-in. I'm like, okay, I get it now. And I have a plan, a concrete plan. And you have ongoing support after the course is done. So I'm going on and on, but I'm just so excited for those of you watching. If you're not already a experienced, seasoned meditator, I just, what it's like when something has such an amazing impact on your life. I really want to share this and have, those of you watching consider this if this isn't something you're already doing, because I think it's such a game changer.
Yeah, it can really it takes you to the next level. It can either open your eyes to different possibilities, different experiences. You start to get to know yourself even better, who's actually inside there. And there's kind of like a relearning and an unlearning in this process. We hear about meditations and what it's supposed to be like and so on. So it's about removing all expectations and unlearning what you previously expected, because it becomes so simple. And that's the whole point of the technique that I teach, is to make it really simple, really easy. It's for everyone. You don't have to be a monk to get the most out of it. There's meditations that are for monks. They're in monasteries. They'll go into isolation and so on. That's not for us, because we need to get out there. We need to have relationships, friends, and possessions and experiences and so on. We're out in the real world. So we need a technique that can help the everyday person. And that's what this does.
For those of you watching, stick around, because we're going to go into a few things in this video. Sam is going to generously share some of the things that he teaches in the course to help you have a better understanding about meditation. But just before we do that, I think it would be helpful for those of you who haven't seen Sam's first interview. I'll link it here, that has all the details of his ME CFS recovery story. But just to have a quick recap, Sam, if you could share for us what that journey for you was like.
I left school at 16. Then I became a joiner, a carpenter, and I did that for 5 years. I did an apprenticeship. It was just me, another guy, and our sort of master joiner that was teaching. So there's 3 of us in the workshop, lots of heavy machinery, loud machinery going on. And we were creating like these amazing pieces of furniture and windows, doors, staircases, and that kind of stuff. Really high-end stuff, a perfectionist nightmare, you could say. And it's because everything has to go out the door and it has to be perfect. So I did that. And then afterward, about 5 years after that, I decided I wanted to go into higher education. I then put myself into a university, and I went in and did a distance learning degree for 4 years. And it was that point that I noticed that when I was working in an office, when I was putting myself under more pressure to use my brain more and study and so on, and I was going to the gym, and I started to notice that my energy levels were starting to get lower and lower and lower. My sleep was starting to be hugely affected. I was struggling to get to sleep. I was struggling to stay asleep. So the insomnia was starting to kick in. I was waking up feeling exhausted. And then anything during the day that I tried to do, my eyes would just want to close the whole time. My brain fog would take over, it become a mist. It was really difficult to concentrate. Digestion, these are the main symptoms I'm trying to list. Is digestion. It was food was making me. I was having like these energy dumps. I was having super healthy meals, and it was just becoming intolerant to foods that I'd always eaten. It was kind of almost like a switch had just been pressed, and all of a sudden everything I was doing or used to do was no longer acceptable, and I had to find a way to sort of change that. So I managed to struggle. I got through, I did all the things that we shouldn't do with chronic fatigue syndrome, as drink coffee, green tea, all that kind of stuff, just to get through those 4 years of university. And I was working full time as well. So it was really like, it was a lot of work that I put myself through. And yeah, it became something that didn't seem to be reversible. And I was going to doctor's appointments and having my blood work done and all these tests, and they can only do so much because all the tests were coming back perfectly. And it was really disheartening. It's like, I know that there is something wrong here. And I was just getting, no, everything's normal. And then I started to go down the alternative medicine route. I tried homeopathy, kinesiology, acupuncture. I went through all of those things and the traditional stuff. And then I got to 2016 and I really didn't know what else to do. And then I got introduced to the meditation course, and I read so many things about it. Of course, like, if you're in this space, if you're looking to try and recover, you're going to come across meditation at some point, and perhaps just think it's not really achievable. It's something that you've got to have a lot of motivation, dedication, and I don't know. It's just, maybe it's for a select. We have this preconception that it's for a select type of person, and I just got put off. I was just like, no, that's not for me. And my brain couldn't do that. I couldn't focus on anything. I've got brain fog. How could I do anything to do with meditation? And it took a friend of mine, not a really close friend, just somebody that I knew, and friend of a friend type. And I was talking about my symptoms, and they were like, you have to go and try this course. You just have to. And so my friends were saying how this particular person had changed so much, and how the meditation had affected them. That was my buy-in. That was enough. Okay, I'm terrible at reading things and researching things and going in on a whim. I need some sort of confirmation from a friend or somebody that I value their opinion, and I'll have that buy-in. I'll then go and do it. So that's what happened. And so nothing happened by chance. And so I just, we were at this wedding, and he said, go and do this. I signed up when I got home, and I was on the course 2 days later. And this particular course was 3 days in London. And that's when it started. That's when I had that first meditation, and I felt an instant, like something new. It was something, just that, a new experience. And just from closing my eyes and following my teacher's instructions. And although it didn't cure my symptoms from, like, on day one, it was an experience for me to go, oh, this is very interesting. I'm having experiences here that I've never had before. And I mean, my teacher tells me that certain things can happen and experiences can happen. This was after what I was experiencing. So it wasn't like I had this expectation of what meditation should be like, and I'm going to have all these groovy experiences and I'm going to placebo into it. It was never told, oh, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. And then my mind kind of just makes it up and tries to sort of create that scenario. And I found that my experiences were changed. And then I started to believe it more and more because I was validating it through my own experience. And then it took about 18 months for me to feel like that I've actually reversed that chronic illness. And then it got to the 18 months, and I was like, how much further can I go with this? Because I feel like I've kind of reversed now everything that all the symptoms. I'm sleeping better, and my brain's not as cloudy, and my digestion is much stronger. And so how much further? And that's what I found from, I think it was 2018. I found that was just building and building and building. And so I was just becoming lighter and lighter and lighter. My confidence was coming out. Everything was starting to change. My whole belief pattern of everything. I was just so open-minded, and it was just started to change everything. And so that was a liberating process to go through. And I think it just adds. So Yeah, meditation literally transformed my life. And then 2019, well, actually, it was after that. In 2018, I was offered to become a teacher and go through the training for that. You had to have 3 years experience, and then go and take my 3.5 months teacher training in Bali, to go through the steps of becoming a teacher, pass all the tests. And in 2019, I became a teacher. And I think I've just, because of my experience with chronic illness, I've found that I teach everybody, but there is a little bit of a niche there where, because of my story, because of what we spoke about in the last interview, it definitely got a lot of people who can relate to my story interested in learning to meditate, and you kind of just welcome them into the community, and everyone supports each other, and it's a really nice thing, and it just starts that foundational sort of, it just initiates that platform to then regain your health, to become more aware of yourself, your environment, how that's affecting you, and you can just build from there. It's like a sturdy foundation that you're building, and that's what I believe this practice does. And then it's just patience. In all honesty, it's patience, and the benefits will start to come through. And for me, it took 18 months, but at the same time, I knew this was something positive for me, and I just kept going, and consistency. And that's the trick, is to become consistent. And like I said to you on my course, I say you will eventually look forward to sitting down and doing your meditation every single day, because it's just like that wash. You're cleansing the mind twice a day.
Yeah, it's become so quickly for me, like, drinking water or eating or exercising, things that, okay, sometimes I skip the exercise. I think now I'm much more likely, not that I skip exercise, but if one's going to go, it would be that over the meditation. It's become so vital for my day. And I remember you saying that in the course, that you'll start to look forward to it. And I remember thinking, you probably look forward to it, but I don't know if I will. Because my life was very busy, and at the time, it starts to feel like just one more chore in the day, one more thing to tick off that you have to do. So, but yeah, I am so excited to do it every day, and I wouldn't think of skipping it. It's just, it keeps me afloat. I've started keeping a list of all the benefits that I've been seeing, because I can't even believe things like the confidence coming up, my anxiety going down. I noticed certain situations that would normally I'd tense up. And I had this technique I used to do that I trained myself, to push my fingers together, and it would calm me, and I don't do it anymore. And it's not that I wake up every day exuding bliss, but it's more like a lot of the negative has leveled out, because I've been working on getting my life more balanced, and I've been very overwhelmed and exhausted. And with that can come depression and anxiety and just frustration. And all of that has just come up to like a more constant place very quickly. And I just have more resilience, and I could go on and on. It's just, my head is exploding. I've talked about it in my last 2 newsletters that I sent out. People are probably tired of hearing of it, but it's been just amazing.
Yeah. It's the gift that keeps on giving. It's the opportunity for the mind to just refresh, reset on a daily basis. And as we know, where the mind goes, the body tends to follow. And so if we can get our mind into the best shape possible, then the body, that healing process can start to take effect. And that's why, like, the techniques that we have can help in certain situations. But what if we could do something that could help us not need those techniques, those sort of survival, getting through the day techniques, and we need them. That's how we get through certain experiences and emotions. But there must be a way of getting deeper into it, to the point where the nervous system doesn't respond in the way that it's been used to. And so that's why I feel like laying that foundation is just allowing your nervous system to calm down enough to get to a point where you become really robust to stress and situations, and you become almost not immune, but because you can be aware of them, they just don't have that sort of deep-rooted effect that they used to. And then we move forward, and things become a lot easier and lighter. I like the word lighter, because it's when you're in you're in that illness, and whatever somebody's going through, it becomes heavy and it becomes consuming. And for me, this was just like a weight off my shoulders. It was like you've got a friend next to you, you've got that support network just by having a technique like this. I mean, you almost don't feel alone anymore. And then you also have the community as well, which is nice. People support each other through it.
That is exactly it, because I've been so overwhelmed lately and trying to figure out how I'm just going to sort out my life and make it a more manageable, happy place to be. And I've been doing little things and tweaks and planning, but now that I'm doing this, I do feel lighter, and I do feel so much more positive and hopeful about the future. And I have more energy, and the stress and the overwhelm has come down, and it is like a friend. And it's like a preventative sort of coping mechanism, as opposed to, turning to alcohol or different things to have a quick escape from the chaos of life, or whatever people do, shop, or most of us have our, cupcakes or whatever it is that we turn to. But this one, I find, keeps me from getting to that place where I have to go to those unhealthy coping things as much. I'm not claiming to be perfect, but it makes a significant difference for sure.
It gives you a moment of pause. So you can, instead of being automatic and going for the cupcake or going to the shop, and so on, it gives you that moment to be able to go, I could do this or I could do that. It's not automatic anymore. You're being able to just zoom out and see the bigger picture. It's a bit like when we're stuck in a very stressful situation and we can't really see a way out of it. And this practice, by giving the mind a reset on a daily basis, you're able to zoom out and go, okay, this feels like this right now, but what's going through this experience? But let's fast forward 2 weeks, and then we look back on this experience and go, what was I doing? What was I getting so worked up about? And you kind of have that wide-angled view, and go, you can do that in real time. So it's like, oh, if I look back to this point in 2 weeks' time, how would I really think and feel about this experience right now? I'd look back and I'd go, what was I thinking? And we get so caught up in those moments. I mean, we talk about like present moment awareness and mindfulness and so on. That's a benefit of learning Vedic meditation. It's another branch of the tree. So you find that all those things, your awareness comes out, you're there real time, you're more present. We're not trying to escape everything the whole time or look forward to what's next. We're just here right now. But yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things for me, was just having that sort of bird's eye view of everything. We're not, instead of getting so bogged down in what's happening right now, let's have some more perspective on the situation, which just changes everything.
So how does all of this impact illness and recovery?
So I try and keep it really simple, because I believe that it is when we close our eyes and we sit down and we follow the instructions of the teacher, and we go into meditation, we are within 2 to 3 minutes, we're sort of activating the parasympathetic. And that's just going into that restful state, is just giving the body the chance to start to process. It's feeling safe enough to go, I'm going to carry on and start fixing myself now. Whereas if we're in the fight or flight response, which is arguably 70% of the day, like for a lot of people, you're in it quite a lot. You've kind of normalized it. It's about just giving you that respite and just going, okay, you can relax now. We're going to do some deep relaxation. So it feels a lot deeper than sort of your average sort of night's sleep. You can come out feeling super refreshed. And in time, we find that because we're giving ourselves those 20 minutes twice a day of going into that parasympathetic, so let's just say 40 minutes a day, at the end of the meditation, we come out feeling relaxed as well. And that relaxation can continue. In the course, I talk about this afterglow effect, how the benefits of that particular meditation sitting will start to come out with you when you open your eyes. until you get stressed again. And this is something that can grow. This isn't something, so we're not relying on our 40 minutes of meditation a day to feel relaxed, and then we go out into the world and we lose it all. That's where a lot of people will fail with meditation, or they think they're failing, is because we need to be in meditation all day, every single day, to be in my parasympathetic and sort of hide away in the meditation. But really, it's about dipping into it, coming out. With consistency, this afterglow will start to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So maybe we get 10 minutes extra after the 20-minute meditation of feeling more relaxed, and something triggers us and we become stressed again. And then we go, oh, I need another meditation, and so on. But actually, in time, that will grow, and your resilience to those things that are triggering you in the first place starts to become strengthened, and it becomes more and more difficult to be triggered. And so it really is what we call the stress releasing processes in a meditation. We'll go deep into the way that the mantra works. We go deeper into a meditation. We feel relaxed. We release stress. Thoughts will come up. We'll become aware eventually of thoughts. Maybe we've been thinking for 5 minutes and we haven't been aware. And then we come back and we use our mantra, and it takes us back down again. So it's the flow of excitation and de-excitation. And we'll release stress when we're de-excited and relaxed in the parasympathetic. So it's just giving, it's the platform, it's allowing us to go into that relaxation, to then the body can then process thoughts, emotions, and that's what we don't get on a daily basis. We think that sleep can do that, and then we wake up the next day and that's all sorted. But that's not the case. It's not. I mean, there's too much stimulation in the world for sleep to do everything that we need it to, and that's where meditation comes in. We just start to give ourselves that like a pool of relaxation to dip into twice a day, and the benefits start to come out. We become more robust. I think that's the simplest way I can explain it. Is we go into parasympathetic, and then we start, by doing that consistently, we start to bring that parasympathetic, or the option to go into the parasympathetic, we need to, back out into our everyday.
You'd mentioned the thoughts coming up, and this was one of the things from the course that really helped me. So many things did, but I didn't realize until I took your course that part of the reason I wasn't sticking with meditation for all of those years, or couldn't make it a priority, is that I pretty much always felt like a failure while doing it, because I did have a lot of thoughts coming up, and I thought, I'm wasting my time because I'm not getting any benefits. I can't concentrate. I'm not good at this. One day I'll get serious and I'll figure out how to make those thoughts stop. So I didn't understand the role of those thoughts, and that it's actually okay. So can you talk a little bit about that? Because I'm sure I'm not the only one who has been feeling this with meditation.
Yeah, there are loads of, and quite in a complicated way, there are loads of different types of meditations out there. But in this form of meditation, it's actually a requirement to be able to think, because when we go into the technique, when we have thoughts, it's believed that stress is being released when we have the thoughts. And so you'll find eventually that if we do a 20-minute meditation, you might have thoughts for the first 10 or 15 minutes. And you'll be going in between thoughts and a deepness that maybe you're not aware of at the beginning. And then at the end of the meditation, you might have 5 minutes of a really deep experience. And you go, oh, I really feel like I've been meditating now, because I've got to this deep part and there's just no thoughts. But you could be having a very thought-filled meditation and still come out feeling relaxed. So thoughts are a good sign. You could be having blissful thoughts in a meditation. That's still thinking. So it's kind of like, oh, I don't want to be thinking about what's for dinner later, or the shopping that I've got to go and get, and I've got to pick the kids up, and maybe I'm thinking about my illness and all of that kind of stuff. It can be, it doesn't really matter the quality, the content of the thinking, as long as we follow the procedure that gets taught, you can't really go wrong with it. And so really, just by having the thoughts and becoming aware, coming back to the mantra, it's just like this process that we go through. And that's how the nervous system starts to just kick out the stress. And in time, we've become a lot lighter because, down to a cellular level, we're holding on to stress and experiences that were maybe even passed down to us from our ancestors. And so it's about just clearing up our nervous system on a cellular level, which can take a while. But we eventually get there. And that's why we do it twice a day as well. So one is for maintenance. We get through the day. We sit down, we do our meditation. We let the day sort of wash over us, and we sort of clean ourselves from all the experiences that we need to be processed. We let go of them, and then we can prepare the next day, sit down, do our meditation. We're good to go. We start to work away at all the old stress that has maybe made us unwell or helped us become unwell, and we start to let all that stuff go. So that's the benefit of doing it twice a day. Is one for maintenance, and then one is for the old rooted, deep rooted stuff that we want to say goodbye to.
Yeah, I've noticed, and you talked about this, but we don't give ourselves a lot of space to deal with stress and trauma in our life. And this could be just small t traumas. It doesn't have to be big things. But when we do this twice a day, and then these things coming up, and I have started to notice just random things from years ago, like you said, would happen, or just little things that I didn't realize were still kind of weighing on me. And it's not even that I have to sit in that moment and do a big processing session on it. Just something about them having the space to come in, acknowledge it, and then let it go. It does wonders. And I remember you talking about there's even, science to back up that when we're in these meditations and the thoughts are coming, we're still seeing benefits. So it's nice to know that at least with this type of meditation, that is a part of the process and it is doing good.
Yeah, we're still meditating when we've got thoughts and we're aware of thoughts. It can feel like, oh, I'm not meditating, I'm just thinking. We're still meditating. We're going into it and we'll come out feeling relaxed afterwards. I find that students will go through a period of having lots of thoughts, and then that will settle down and they'll feel like they're going deeper into meditation more often, and then the thoughts come back and so on. And that can really depend on how stressful someone's life is. Like, how much stress are they putting themselves through almost voluntarily? And I find that long-term meditators will start to take matters into their own hands, and they'll start to limit the amount of stress. And they'll start to control, because there's always a choice. Sometimes there isn't a choice, but a lot of the time we just want to keep going and doing lots of things. And really it's about going, okay, I don't need to be doing this and this right now. This is too much. And so it's just being smart and trying not to abuse our sort of, and we kind of become naive, and a bit like me when I went to university and I went to the gym and was doing all these things. I was young and naive, and I thought my body could do everything. Maybe some people can, but some people can't. And so it's just starting to tune into yourself, your awareness, what you can do, know the limitations, and start to work with that. We become much more sensible, I think, and we can work with ourselves instead of against ourselves in a lot of cases.
A lot of people watching will be facing conditions like ME, CFS, and long COVID, and have a trouble sleeping and a chronic sleep debt that they're carrying around. So how does meditation play into this? Because you've talked about how it can help with that. Yeah,
I think there's a statistic flying around that about 50% of people that want to learn to meditate is because of sleep. And sleep's massive. It's part of this practice is about promoting and improving sleep quality. So you become efficient. We prioritize our sleep routine so we can allow ourselves to and feel kind of safe enough to be able to sleep. Because I think that's the important thing is the nervous system doesn't feel safe enough to be able to stay asleep long enough. And we want the body to start to relax enough to feel safe enough to then be able to stay asleep and sleep long enough. And then we wake up the next day and feel relaxed and ready to get on with the day, instead of feeling like we've been beaten up, because that's how I felt, was like I've been hit by a bus every single day waking up. So yeah, and I find that someone's meditation, if they've had this, what we call a chronic sleep debt, where for a portion of our lives, we haven't been able to sleep well enough for a sufficient amount of time, so between 7 and 9 hours a night. And we haven't been getting that. And then we learn to meditate, and we kind of feel like our head becomes very heavy, and it's almost like we've been sleeping. And so the meditation will start to pay off that chronic sleep debt. And once we pay it off, we find that the practice, the experience within the practice will start to change. Our sleep will change. And it's a great tool for, I've got one of these rings that tells you your sleep and everything like that. But it's a great way to sort of recalibrate and start to know, am I getting enough sleep? Like if I feel like my head is nodding forward in my meditation, maybe I'm not getting enough sleep, and maybe I should prioritize that. So there's all these little things that it sort of brings up for you, and it's like, I'm going to sleep a little. I'm going to allow myself to sleep a little bit more and not feel guilty about it, because I think that's a really important thing for me through my recovery, is that I felt guilty about just allowing myself to rest and just honoring that. And then I started sleeping properly. I allowed myself to, my nervous system felt safe enough to actually fall asleep. I wasn't like lying there feeling like I was awake and my system wasn't going to shut down. And it's almost like I'd been given a coffee before going to sleep. And you sort of go through those moments of the day where your energy peaks and then it drops, and you're like, I could do it, go to bed now. And then you try and go to bed or have a doze, and it's like, it's back up again. So you can never stay on top of it. And we want to be waking up with energy and then falling asleep, ready to just let it hit the pillow and we're off.
Something else really important that you've shared that is very relevant to our community here is that I just love that you've given us all permission to be comfortable while meditating, because when people are sick, they're low in energy. I used to have this image that I had to be sitting, cross-legged on the floor and uncomfortable and in some, but just if you could just explain a little bit that or give people permission that they can be comfortable. They can lie down if they need to lie down, and it's still okay. It's still working, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So ideally we want to be sitting upright. But if we are unwell, and so somebody's bedbound or they just don't have the energy to sit up, and then that there is an option to lie down and do the practice. But if we can just get ourselves up a little upright, or we've got some pillows behind us, and it's about being comfortable. We have our back supported. The reason why we want to be upright is so that we don't actually fall asleep in the meditation. But if the next best thing is to lie down and maybe you fall asleep halfway through or something, but at least you're getting 10 minutes of meditation at that point. And then, we'll start to chip away at that stress, and eventually we'll get to being upright again. But yeah, it's about being comfortable. The number one rule is to sit comfortably. And that's what separates it from other practices, is that we don't have to be sitting there with our backs straight with no support and feel the pain in the body and the discomfort in that. This is about just getting the body as comfortable as possible, and then we can let go of the body. It can just stay there, and the mind will start to let go of that. And if we do have any discomfort come up in the meditation, in the physical body, then we can readjust, sit in a different position. And so you don't have to be sitting in the same position. I think that's important. You can readjust and get yourself comfortable again.
And I know you have a couple of different course options for people specifically to, accommodate what they might be currently facing. So what do you have available? What does that look like?
So I've got two courses. The main one is the Vedic meditation course, which is the one that I took when I first learned. It's a 4-day course. It's always done live, so either in person or via Zoom. And then the other one is what I call the intro kind of to meditation course. It's a meditation on demand course. So it's kind of like a Vedic meditation, but a light version of that. So it's a really good way just to have a little intro, see how it works, see if you can meditate. There's not a huge investment that's needed for that first course. And so it's really just almost like a try it, see that you can actually meditate, and then if you want to go dive into the full technique, then you can do that. But the first technique will get you meditating. It will give you, get you into a routine. You'll be using a word in the mind, and so on. It will definitely do something. And then in most cases, people will want to take the next step. They've got enough value from that to go, right, let's see what this main technique can really do, and how fast can I get myself into that sort of feeling safe, and so on. And then there are other techniques that you can add on later down the line if you really want to get into the meditation and go deep and turn on sort of turbochargers with that. But yeah, for most people, they'll either and that's what I'd recommend actually, start the first course, the sort of the entry level course, especially if you're someone who's got a lot of physical pain in your body. Start off there, get used to that, and then you'll naturally become more inquisitive about how much more can I get out of this, because this is giving me something already. What's the main course going to do?
Amazing. And for people watching, of course, all of this will be linked in the video description. So I encourage you to expand it and take a look for details about where to follow Sam on social media, about his Soma Meditation courses. Changed my life. I really think this could be life-changing for virtually everybody. So I really hope to have you back. I could keep you here all day asking you questions, but thank you so much, Sam, for your time today. I really appreciate this.
My pleasure. Thanks for being back on.
Yeah, and for people watching, I'm just thinking, if this resonates for you, I'm going to link up here on the screen somewhere an interview I recently did with someone named Kyle, who was severely unwell for a couple of years with long COVID, and meditation for him was the driving force that allowed him to recover as well. So yeah, thank you again, Sam. Thank you to those of you watching, whatever you're going through. Keep at it, keep going. I believe you have totally got this, and I thank you for watching. I hope you got something out of this. I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, I hope to see you in the next video.